So did you watch the Oscars, or did you hear the news and then watch the Oscars?
Yeah, like everyone else in America. I was not watching the Oscars, and I heard about it through social media and then went immediately to watch a bunch of videos of Will Smith smacking Chris Rock in the face.
No, I was so it obviously showed up on my feed, and I was debating if we should even talk about this because it was getting a lot of coverage, and now that there has been some days and you hear a lot of different point of views, but my initial response, I quickly I was like, what is going on? And I was trying to get the full story, So I saw what he initially said. I saw what he said when he sat down, and then I went and saw what he said after he won. But man, was he right for that? Because I'm thinking, I did put myself in his shoes, and if there was something that me and my wife get upset, I would be real quick to defend my wife. But
yeah, I would say my first reaction was one, is this a joke? I thought it was like some sort of skit.
I thought it was staged. People like, yo, this is they're doing a bit. Like, is this real?
Yeah, no, and I think actually if you watch it, I think the audience actually was a little confused up until Will started screaming at Chris, the profanity laced "Don't talk about my wife." So up until then, I think everyone was a little confused and had a little bit of disorientation to it until you saw that Will was visibly upset by it. That's a good question. Putting yourself in his shoes, if your wife is upset about something, it feels like you have to do something about it. Now, whether you walk on stage on national TV and smack a guy who made a joke about your wife there, whether you do that, I don't know. That could be an overreaction. That could be a conversation you have with him afterwards. I don't think Chris Rock would have, immediately dissed him if he had some form of conversation with him. But yeah, I mean, I do think most men have the immediate reaction. Someone said something about my wife or said something slick to my wife. I need to respond and do something about it.
Yeah, I think the as I spent time actually, uncovering what was going on, it started to spark a lot of Will has been very public about what's been going on with his life and his family life and really his personal life, and really when I started to be intrigued by what was going on, it was once he won the award and he was giving his speech, and his speech was like, it was all over the place. He was definitely he was crying, but he was like emotionally crying. Like, it reminded me almost as a kid that kind of was like got in trouble, and it was like trying to justify what happened, or trying to give an explanation about what was going on. And his big thing of like protecting, wanting to be a protector of his family, taking on that role of, of the Serena's sister's father, because that was a big thing in the movie too. He was almost like, you could tell that his speech was coming from a lot of different places, and I think it really speaks to what's going on with him, emotionally, mentally, and it was like a bigger thing that's going on, and that's what in the end intrigued me. It was like, I really wanted to understand, because it was a very weird, odd event. But so, I don't know what, I don't know Will, so I can't really say that I understand what was going on with him. But like, it's not the first time that Chris, joked about Jada. It's not the first time that 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 they've kind of clashed about that. But then also too, my biggest thing, the thing that I think about is that Will's coming from a place where he just was opening up about his, the abuse from his, from his childhood, from his father abusing his mom, and one of the biggest things that he takes away from that is that he wasn't able to defend her and protect her. So I think it speaks to a much more deeper emotional thing that's going on with him. And of course, we don't know him. This is what we can conclude.
Yeah, armchair psychology. Yeah, I would say that you are probably right there. That it was probably, it boiled down to that one point of Chris Rock telling that joke, but there's probably a lifetime full of, whether it be trauma or understanding his life, that went into that moment. I mean, probably the abuse from his father to his mother not being able to defend her, mixed with, the sort of public nature of what was happening between him and his wife, about her having an affair with a younger man. Sort of her relationship with Tupac it's a little bit interesting.
What's that? I don't know about that.
Well, her and Tupac were friends when they were in high school.
That,
so,
yeah.
But I think a lot of times, on his anniversary of his death or on his birthday, she'll post, little poems that he would read to her. And some of those poems that he wrote about her, some of those poems have like a slight little eroticism to it. So almost like they had I don't think they actually had a thing. They may have been a little too young, but that there was some form of love there that may have went past just pure, being platonic friends in some way. So I think there's a little bit of possibly an emasculation there publicly for him, that feeling of being injured, you're, especially as a man, your feeling of your sort of ego of what you think of yourself being injured, over a period of time. And then that, along with the opening up of your relationship with your father and your family. And then, a comedian says a joke on stage and you look over and your wife doesn't like it. You will probably have the need to do something about it in that moment. And I do probably think that it was a mixture of all of those things sort of bubbling up to the surface. And then especially in that acceptance speech where he was all over the place and he talked about being a protector for his family. And something about that, if you ask me, is sort of art imitating life, life imitating art, sort of the blurring of the lines because of the character that he played, Richard Williams. One of his main attributes was the protection of Serena and Venus Williams and sort of their come up, that he had to be, extra protecting of, their talents and their confidence and self-esteem and those sorts of things sort of bubbling up to the surface there as well. So there's probably a little bit of that in there as well, that, him playing that character and having to get into that character so much so that he won an award for it, that his performance was, worthy of an award, that there's probably some mixing of that. And he probably saw some of that, some of the stuff that comes from their life. He may have found some of that in his own father and sort of his own relationship with his own father. So you could have a lot of things triggering, maybe past traumas or his, sort of life, lived experience in a way.
Yeah. One of the things that like, it was such a interesting feeling that I got. I kind of felt like once when I saw that, I felt like I was in at a family reunion, at a family gathering, and then you got uncle, aunt, or somebody, cousin that had some unsquashed beef that just came out, because I feel like that almost always happens in almost every family. You could be passive aggressive, or you can actually literally start fighting each other. But as a family member, we all know, oh yeah, they're beefing it, and you kind of know what's already happening in the background, And in this situation, a lot of people knew, to a certain degree, or right away you could already start drawing conclusions. We remember what happened with this is not the first time Chris Rock made fun of her. We understand what's going on with Jada in the background, why she actually shaved her head. Her with her coming out. What's
alopecia.